What's up, everyone? All right, we are back again with another
Mhm.
episode of Silver Lining TV, where we motivate and inspire people to create a better life through real estate. And again, I am joined with my business partner, Lauren. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Glad to be back. Last week it was a little weird not being here.
I know we had Anthony on, and he
I
was
know.
spitting some good knowledge. And actually, before that, it was Teresa, I believe. So
Mm-hmm.
everybody's getting on the show to try to spread some knowledge for everyone. And I think this one's going to be very important because we're going to touch on inflation. I'm going to touch on um, not allowing inflation to delay your home ownership goals. Like if you're wanting to buy a home this year and you're hearing the news and you're probably a little uncertain, well, we're going to break that down for you to give you more certainty in regards to the inflation and how it affects home buying. So, Lauren, I'm gonna kick it off to you. And actually, we're gonna share our screen. You want me to do that now?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
fine.
perfect. We figured having an infographic is much better than just staring at us, right?
Yeah.
So you guys can read this stuff with us. But so let's hop into it, Lauren. Break it down for the people.
So yeah, as it says on here, recent headlines about rising inflation make you wonder if it's still a good time to buy a home. And honestly, so what I hear people say a lot of the times, like on TikTok and on Facebook, they're like, I'm just gonna wait for the market to crash.
Mm,
And as we all know, in real estate and in our office, we talk about it all the time.
mhm.
And it's not always a good thing to wait until the market crashes, which in our market, it probably won't ever crash. It'll probably normalize, but it'll never crash.
Yeah,
Well, I can't say never, but
yeah. We never really know, but
right,
it's highly unlikely that there will be a crash.
right,
So if people are waiting for a crash that isn't going to happen in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years,
right,
is it going to happen?
right.
You know, so
So then they're just trying to catch up with a train that's constantly moving and going and going and going.
exactly. And the thing about a home, homes always appreciate in value. So you're buying an asset that typically grows in value. It
Mhm.
says it right there.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna read off a quote actually that the chief economist for Zonda said. It says, "If you have cash and are expecting inflation, you want to think through where you could put your money so it does not lose value. Housing is commonly looked at as a good inflation hedge." So, in other words, what he's saying is if you want to actually hedge inflation, if you want to actually preserve or increase wealth, you do that during inflation times by
Mhm.
owning more real estate.
Right.
Okay. Real estate is a home. Okay. So if anything, you want to get a little more aggressive in buying a home
Right.
in times like today, right?
Yeah, because as we can see, like with some of our past clients or even like family members, they're like, hey, can you look at the value of my home or
Hmm.
do a comparative market analysis? And it's like, oh, you bought your home for $60,000 and today we could probably sell it for $112,000.
Yep. And I was one of those people, by the way. So this isn't like, I mean, we obviously are talking to a lot of people and helping a lot of people a day, and we're seeing this every single day with people. But I personally,
Mm-hmm.
this happened to me when I bought a home, and a couple years later, the value went skyrocketed, and then I bought another home and made a killing off the first home, and like I was always put in a great position to buy the next one because it was real estate, not like
Right.
stocks or not like,
Right.
there were things, it was an asset that always increases in value,
Right.
right? So, again, it is important that if you want to build wealth, and this is a great time to build wealth, right?
Yeah.
You have to make sure real estate is one of your primary ways to build wealth. And even if it just means buying one home and living in it, you're going to be better off because you can at least appreciate. Well, last year it was 17 to 28%
Mm-hmm.
appreciation rate. This year we're going to see still high, probably won't be as high as 17%, but we could see like 6 to 10%.
Yeah.
In some areas it could be 4%, but the key is it's always appreciated.
Right.
So we'll move on to the next thing. So Lauren, what do you got for us?
Yeah, so this one says your mortgage helps stabilize your monthly housing costs, which it's totally true. So with renting an apartment, I know personally, like living in an apartment, your bills are always constantly fluctuating because sometimes it does go off your neighbors. Like if my
Yeah.
neighbors are heating their apartment more, then maybe I don't have to use my heat as much.
Mm-hmm.
And then, rent, everything, it always rising. And so your monthly payment for your mortgage is going to stay the same unless you refinance or something like that. But it's always going to be consistent. So you're never going to have to worry, oh my gosh, this year is it going to rise? How much is it going to rise? You know it's going to stay the same.
Absolutely. And another thing too, I'm gonna add into it. When it comes to owning a property versus like, so you got your mortgage and then you got your rent. When you have a mortgage, obviously the money that you're paying towards the mortgage is building equity,
Right.
aka increasing or pretty much increasing your home bank account, or
Right.
home bank account, your home equity bank account, whatever you want to call it. But you can actually tap into that.
Yeah.
If you're unaware, you can tap into the equity you have in your home just by paying it down. By the way, you could tap into that, use that money for maybe a vacation, maybe to open up a business, maybe to
Buy
gift
another
some,
home.
whatever you want to do, buy another home,
Yeah.
right? To buy even more real estate. You can't do that if you're consistently paying towards rent.
Yeah.
You
I was
see?
about to say, with rent, you can see like, okay, I'm paying this. Where is it going to? Is something changing in my apartment to make it better, to make it worth the 900, the 950, that sort of thing? Because if you think about it, your rent's always going to increase, but what are they doing to improve it while you're increasing that rent?
Exactly. That's a good point. That's a good point. I'm going to read this off real quick by James Royal. He's with Senior Wealth Management Reporter at Bankrate. A fixed rate mortgage allows you to maintain the biggest portion of housing expenses at the same payment. Sure, property taxes will rise and other expenses may creep up, but your monthly housing payment remains the same. That's certainly not the case if you're renting. We just pretty much said all that. So he's saying it as well. All right, we're going to move on to
buying protects you from rising rents. So again, your mortgage is going to be fixed. So that payment amount, what you're comfortable with, property taxes, insurance, everything included is your monthly payment. And then that'll be what it is for the rest of the time you're in the home. Like the quote just said, property taxes may fluctuate, but, with rent, again, rent can always change year to year. Or sometimes I've seen in instances with friends on Facebook that their rent or their landlord is selling the house from underneath them.
Yeah.
And so now they have to find another place to live. Well, it was cheaper there. So now they have to figure out what to do. So it's always good to just be planted in somewhere that is yours.
Absolutely. Yeah, having control. Like when you own property, when you own your home, you are the lord of your land, right? A landlord. And you don't have to worry about somebody knocking on your door one day and saying, hey, actually, I'm selling this property. It's going to market this week. You got 30 days or 60 days to get out, right? Or find a new property. Or you could try to buy it from me, but it's going to be at a price that you probably aren't going to like.
Right.
So it is key to understand that, when you own real estate and you are, you got rental. By the way, just because something else just came to my mind. I literally just yesterday was on a website called Rental Meter, and we were talking to a client about purchasing investment properties and what they could possibly rent this property out for. It's a 3-2, I said 3-2, like I know what that means. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Okay. And it was about 1,500 square foot in West Lafayette. Now think about that for a second. That type of home you could buy today, or let me give you what it would rent out for first. Almost $1,800 a month. $1,800 a month. You could buy that property and your mortgage would be approximately like $1,200, maybe $1,500, maybe. So we're talking a pretty big change, a pretty big gap in regards to like monthly payment, if that makes sense. So think about that as well. Like the rent they got to continue to increase rents. You can't get mad at the landlord. They got to, in order to keep up with, the change in the rental rates. At least if you own a home, the home value is going to increase, but that benefits you, not the landlord.
Right. And I've seen that personally, trying to help like family and stuff find rentals and just going to see the property with them and being like, okay, this is a small little maybe 1,100 square foot home with a 3-bed, 1-bath, that's great. And she had told us she was paying like $800 for the mortgage, and then proceeded to say in the next sentence, but rent's $1,200 a month. And I'm like, where are you getting this number from? Which again, they do have to keep up, but it was just like, she's telling you word for word, and at least she was being honest. But it was just like, buy your own home.
Yeah. Listen, it's the best time more than ever. Like today is the best time to own real estate. Period. Like we are real estate agents, and we're giving this information out not because we want you to buy with us. We're just saying you need to buy a home. You need to own a home, and have and live with the benefits and get those benefits as a homeowner. The pride of homeownership is real.
Right.
So again, we just want to reiterate that just because inflation is what it is, just because things in the economy is what it is, it does not mean you run away from real estate or owning property. It actually means you run to it as fast as possible. Okay. Yeah. All right, Lauren, do you have anything else you want to add to this? I think we knocked this one out the park.
I think something that it's on topic, but it's not directly correlating with rent or anything. I think interest rates are something people really worry about. Yeah. And I think we kind of talked about it this morning with our training and role play. Interest rate is just something added into your monthly payment. Are you really ever looking at that? Because when you buy your car, are you really looking at the interest rate? I know I didn't. And just recently I found out what it is. So it's like, are you really paying attention to that? Or is there something else that is worrying you?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because, and is there something else that's more important than the rate? Right. And that's the monthly payment.
Right.
Right. Like, can I afford the monthly payment? And if you afford the monthly payment, typically you don't pay too much attention to the rate.
Right.
Now, we do want to educate you and say, hey, maybe you should pay attention. We want our clients to know what the rate is. Right. And also understand that if a rate is in the 4s or in the 5%, it's still historically low.
Right.
If you're looking at the time of rates, I mean, at one point they were 18%. And I think on average over the time span of interest rates being a thing in the mortgage industry, I think the average is 8%.
Right. As I'd say, recently I've gone over and just like looked at like historically, like back from the Great Depression till now. And it's like, I hear people say all the time, it was easier to buy a house back then. And now I was like, well, it wasn't really.
It's all relative. Yeah. I mean, it's back then incomes were much lower. Yeah. Right. But then rates were much higher.
Right.
Today, incomes are a little higher, but and rates are a little lower.
Right.
So, I mean, it is all relative. People back then, I don't know the actual data in regards to home ownership, like the percentage of people who own homes now versus back then. I would assume that more people own homes now than ever.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, if that goes to show you, if you're not a homeowner yet, you're a little behind you're going to miss the wave.
Yeah.
So you better get on it, or otherwise the tide is going to go out and we're going to know who's swimming naked.
Yep.
All right. So we don't want that to be you. Lauren, we're going to put a bow on this. Lauren, how can people reach out to you if they have more questions? They want to learn more about inflation, home buying, home selling. How can they reach out to you?
Yeah. So my cell phone number is 765-250-6185. You can always reach me there. That's my personal cell phone number, and I always have that on me. You can also reach me on Facebook. My Facebook is Lauren Whitaker. And then if you're really big on email, my email is just lauren@slreg.com.
Love it. Love it. Well, Lauren, I appreciate you like always. As Lauren, by the way, if you're not aware, one of the hardest working agents that I know right now. Like, she's constantly out there with her people, showing homes, educating people. She's always in the office meeting with people, going over the home buying process. It's actually pretty inspiring to see how passionate she is about what she does, which is why she's like on this Silver Lining TV more than anybody else, is because she's passionate about giving this information out, by the way, for free.
Right.
That way people can make the right decision, whether it's working with her or not.
Right.
So I want to applaud you for that. I appreciate you having that mindset. growth mindset, which is one of our core values. But anyways, you guys take care. We're going to let this one go, and you'll probably see Lauren here in the next week or so.
Probably.
So we appreciate you guys. Stay safe out there.